Well, today, the News Channel 3 I-Team is breaking the news that several local attorneys are asking the state's Judicial Tenure Commission to investigate a longtime local circuit court judge from Van Buren County.
Yeah, this after the I-Team began investigating the judge earlier this month when we dug into court records written by attorneys that alleged, quote, extreme bias. News Channel 3's chief investigative reporter David Bailey has been investigating this case for the last month and tells us why this situation calls into question the court's fairness. David.
Good afternoon. The I-Team broke the initial story yesterday on this. Some stunning allegations and some documents filed in court. The court filing alleged an improper relationship between Judge Paul Hamry and attorneys Gary Stewart and Kelly Page from Paw Paw. The court document said the two attorneys were utilizing the criminal justice system to retaliate against people they disagree with. Today we're explaining how this whole situation began as we focus on allegations against Judge Hamry. We've never had to do anything like this.
Why aren't you allowed to comment?
I didn't make the law.
You didn't make the laws.
Confronting a judge to get the truth? That's Circuit Court Judge Paul Hamry getting into his car to get away from us. In his haste, he went out the wrong way of the parking lot. Well, one plaintiff who's been in his court, Bob Baker, says that's not the only thing he's done wrong.
I guess I really thought that justice always did prevail. But, there's some severe questions in my mind.
Baker's from Kent County and is a plaintiff in a civil case being heard by Judge Hamry. Baker's trying to collect a debt of close to $700,000 from defendant Bill Engel of ELC in Van Buren County. Judge Hamry stamped a court order in October of 2012 that Baker could collect what he thought was his, hundreds of these storage trailers, to get some money back. But Baker says when defendant Engel hired attorneys Kelly Page and Gary Stewart from Paw Paw, Judge Hamry clarified the original deal by cutting the number of trailers Baker could receive from 600 to as little as 347, costing Baker potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars. Baker says he had suspicions something was awry, and he says it got really strange after a late Friday conference call last month. Judge Hamry, defense attorney Stewart and Page, together in Paw Paw in the judge's chambers, all on one phone line. The plaintiffs, three attorneys, and Baker sitting up in Kent County on a separate line, when at the end of the call,
they thought we had hung up on the line, and they did not hang their phone up.
What allegedly happened next, the I-Team found, is detailed in publicly available court documents. Sworn affidavits written by attorney Don Visser, his son, attorney Donovan Visser, Bob Baker, and his daughter, attorney Rebecca Baker, who were all together and all detailed similar stories about what was said on the phone call by the judge and the defense attorneys after they should have hung up. Rebecca Baker wrote in her affidavit that one of the defense attorneys immediately called plaintiff's attorney Don Visser a f***ick. Seconds later, she writes that Judge Hamry jumped into the demeaning conversation that he said, quote, his son, Visser's son Donovan, is even worse. Then the four affidavits state the defense attorneys and the judge began having substantive conversation about the case, what Baker's attorneys are calling ex parte communications, or communications by a judge to only one side of a case. Rebecca Baker wrote, quote, Judge Hamry explained to defendant's attorneys that he knew what the plaintiffs wanted and basically that he wasn't going to give it to them. She continued by writing that the judge, quote, aided the defendant's attorneys in their preparation and how they should argue. If the allegations are true here, Baker's attorneys say the judge violated Michigan's Judicial Code of Conduct. But that wasn't all that allegedly happened on this call. According to the affidavits, the plaintiffs say they faxed over these documents to the judge as he had required them to do earlier in the week. And what the clerk walking into the judge's office did while the phone line was still hot is what shocked them all.
She asked him what she was supposed to do with them. Judge Hamry told her to throw it in the trash, and we immediately heard papers crumpling, and actually he says, throw it in the trash, I don't even want to see it.
You provide it to him and the guy throws it out?
He threw it out, plain and simple, right over our speakerphone, loud and clear.
Were you shocked?
Myself and my attorney's jaw dropped on the ground.
The plaintiffs say it would have been the only copies available to the judge before a Monday hearing in this case. In light of the allegations, Bob Baker and his attorneys asked the judge in an official court filing on May 12th to recuse himself because of, quote, extreme bias in the case. 12 days later, Judge Hamre fired back, answering the allegations in a court answer. He wrote, quote, the judge will not recuse himself based on these allegations. But the judge's answer was vague when it came to answering the specific allegations we've highlighted. So we wanted to ask him what really happened.
Can you comment on that, Judge? Why can't you comment?
I'm not allowed to comment.
You're not allowed to comment? Why aren't you allowed to comment?
I didn't make the law. I'm sorry.
You didn't make the laws.
Unsolicited, 2 weeks later, the judge issued a statement to the News Channel 3 I-Team via email. He told us about a heated discussion he had with Baker's attorneys on this conference call and said in the aftermath of the call, quote, I made inappropriate comments that I regret. These comments, however, did not reflect on my opinions of the case or alter the outcome of the matter. The judge in that statement said he didn't believe his court engaged in improper ex parte communications. The I-Team responded to his email with more specific questions about some of the allegations, and we didn't get answers. Instead, the judge wrote to us, quote, I have reconsidered my position, and I am withdrawing my written response. I am no longer am granting permission for its use. I have, however, attached a shorter statement that I am authorizing use by WWMT. In that statement, Judge Hamre said he stands on his 17-year record on the bench and says he's never been sanctioned by the Judicial Tenure Commission for any wrongdoing. He wrote to us, quote, to avoid any possible appearance of unfairness, I've recused myself from further involvement with the case. We also sought answers from attorney Kelly Page.
Did you participate in ex parte communications at all? Did you participate in ex parte at all? Why are you running away from me? Why are you running away from me?
We did get a definitive answer from the third person on the line in Paw Paw, attorney Gary Stewart, who was with Hamre. Stewart told us off camera, quote, I don't know what they heard. They certainly didn't hear us have the conversation described in the affidavits. And speaking of those affidavits, if it's found Baker and his attorneys lied on them, they could be charged with perjury. Bob Baker, in the meantime, filed a complaint against Judge Hamre with the Judicial Tenure Commission, and we have confirmation in a letter from the JTC that it has this case under review. Now, since we started taking a look at this, we found yet another twist here. Coming up tomorrow, we're not stopping on our investigation. We'll tell you why the plaintiff, Bob Baker, and his attorney from Kent County were arrested in Van Buren County during this controversy, and why they say the arrests were retaliation for speaking up. We'll have both sides of that. That story tomorrow on Live at 5. David Bailey, News Channel 3 I-Team.